What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to ICNV Driver's Edition. And I know it's been a minute since I last chimed in with you guys, but I do own a couple of businesses. I've been busy with work. So working out some partnerships and some arrangements, I just haven't had the time to edit some videos, but I do feel like it's time I finish up this video right here. So thanks for bearing with me, but I got another interesting topic for you. So let's shift gears. Today, we're going to talk about something I've kind of addressed before, but one of these cars, but I think it's better done hand in hand, because for all the Corvette owners, or for the potential Corvette owners, should I say, you always hear, I should have bought a Porsche. I should have bought a Porsche. Or the Corvette and this, they're always compared side by side with ownership of a Porsche. So today, let's dive into the conversation. Is the Corvette C8 or the Porsche 911 a supercar? Let's talk about it. For those of you, this is your first time tuning in, my name is Sho. This is ICNV Driver's Edition. It is an interactive community of car enthusiasts that love to drive cars to make you turn your head, and that aren't your normal everyday people movers. But in this community, we're also interactive, which that means that if you reach out to me on any one of my social media platforms or in the comments below, I will do my best to respond. And if the topic you bring up is interesting enough, I may even shoot a video on it. So if you feel like you fit in this community, go ahead, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and join us. And hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of the notifications, and you too can add your contributions to this channel. Now, let's dive into the topic. The Corvette C8 and the Porsche 911. They're always put hand in hand or side by side, especially when you go to Corvette groups, especially on Facebook and so forth. I hear so many times where people say, well, I didn't buy the Corvette C8 because the Porsche 911 was a better purchase. Or I knew the Corvette C8 wasn't going to be worth the money, so I bought a Porsche 911. Or you'd be better off buying a Porsche 911. Or the Porsche 911 is a true supercar, the Corvette C8 isn't. The C8 is a supercar, but the Porsche 911 isn't. But for the money, you're smarter to buy a Porsche 911. All these comments always come up, and so many more. And honestly, in both situations, I think they all have a valid point. But when it comes down to which car is truly a supercar, this is where my opinions differ. For those of you that know, I've already made a video talking about, is the Corvette C8 a supercar? And in my opinion, to save you a little bit of information, you can go check out that video and get the details and specifics of what I talk about. But ultimately, I feel like the Corvette C8 is the perfect entry-level supercar. When you look at all other supercars in the category, I think supercars is defined by performance, not by exotics. I think supercar is defined by styling. Doesn't have to be an exotic, it doesn't have to be foreign, and it doesn't have to be rare. So in my opinion, if the styling and performance fits into the category, it can be considered a supercar. I mean, let's be real. The Corvette C8, in my opinion, looks better than the Audi R8 V8, and it outperforms the Audi R8 V8, and even possibly competes with the Audi R8 first gen V10s. So when you look at that, how do you say the Corvette C8 is not a supercar based off performance? If you want to go one step further, we can even sit there and say that the Corvette C8 even competes with the Acura NSX, the second gen version, which is a hybrid platform with a 6-cylinder engine. The performance isn't that big of a difference, although the horsepower numbers are. But because of the hybrid system and the way the battery system works, the Corvette C8 is very comparable and competes, in some cases, even outperforms the Acura NSX. So again, another supercar that is truly defined as a supercar by its styling and its performance, and you tell me what the exoticness really matters? I don't think it does. But again, the Corvette C8 is right there. So how do you, in my opinion, say that it's not? Now, when we talk about the Porsche 911, the 911 is nothing more than the German version of a Corvette. Yeah, I said it. The German version of the Corvette. It's the German sports car that has so many variants that it reminds me of the American-based Corvette. So think about this. They have the 911, the 911 Carrera, the 911 Carrera S. Then you can get that with a floor model. You get a GTS, GT3, GT3 RS, a Porsche Turbo, and a Turbo S. So when you look at the grand scheme of things and we have this conversation, it really doesn't make sense, or should I say, to me, the 911 doesn't hit supercar status until you cross into a GT3. Everything below that doesn't even rival the Corvette C8 base model. But just like the Corvette, all these different variants are supposed to have a purpose. So think about it. You have the base Corvette, a Corvette Z51, which is supposed to be more track capable than the regular Corvette. But then back in the day, you had the Grand Sport. The Grand Sport was the really track capable version of the base Corvette because they all shared the same 3 engines, but the Grand Sport had wider traction and so forth, a wider body split for more aerodynamics. But yet, it was more purchased for its looks than actually being used on a track. Well, that reminds me of the Porsche. The Porsche 911 has the Carrera S, and the GTS. Each version steps up a little bit extra performance, unlike the Corvette C8, which shares the same engine through the first 3 versions we discussed. You get a little bit more, but the car actually gets a little bit better handling with its performance and the increased horsepower. But at the end of the day, these versions are really more sought out just for their status and getting a little spicy in the commute to work. Because until you truly cross into a GT3, a GT3 RS, in some cases, depending on what year, a GT2 RS, a Porsche Turbo, and a Porsche Turbo S, you really aren't crossing into power that rivals the normal sports car. You really aren't getting into the handling and the performance capabilities that we talk about in ownership of supercars. And these cars, this focus of those versions of the cars, are designed to get the best out of the performance and engineering brought to you by their manufacturer. And when I look at the Corvette, let's talk about the C8 E-Ray. Well, that's still on the fence. A lot of people don't consider that a supercar, but the C8 Z06 has earned its rights as a supercar. But in a lot of cases, it's still referred to as a Corvette. And with the new C8 ZR1 out, well, the Turbo S doesn't have a chance, but the ZR1 is arguably, undeniably, a supercar. But what does that mean for the base C8? And I feel like, again, it is a bastard child that's being penalized because so many people have access to them and so many people actually own them. So they try to downplay the actual performance aspect and deny it its true claim as an entry-level supercar. But yet, the Porsche 911, in whatever version you buy, is well respected in the supercar community. And why is that? Let's take a quick break and do me a favor. Go ahead and hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel. Help me reach my goal of 2,500 subscribers. We're chasing the movement. Be part of it. Join the channel, especially if you like the content you've seen so far. We have more stuff like this coming your way, and you too can help guide the focus of the content that comes your way. So subscribe to the channel, hit that like button. Is the Porsche a supercar? Well, here's the thing about that. The Porsche community is slightly different than the Corvette community. Okay, let's dive into this. And I guess you can say I want all the smoke. For a lot of the fake Corvette C8 owners, and I say fake Corvette C8 owners, because in Corvette forums, the most common car you will ever hear compared to a Corvette is the Porsche 911. And many people will sit there and say the Porsche 911 is a better car, or they won't buy the C8 because they have a Porsche and the Porsche 911 was this and the Porsche 911 was that. I call you fake Corvette C8 owners because I've been around a lot of Porsche owners, and Porsche owners truly can care less about Corvettes. It's not a ownership conversation that many will engage in because for them, it's never about bashing another car. It's about a status. So when you start talking about performance with a Porsche 911 versus a Corvette, you really aren't a Porsche owner, because Porsche owners tend to know the Corvette is the better performing car, but the Corvette doesn't get the status of a Porsche 911. Let me dive into that. So the best way I can explain it to non-Porsche owners is if you have a Mustang GT, a Camaro SS, or a Camaro Z01, which for true horsepower junkies know a Camaro Z01 is still a better performing car than a base Corvette, but in the actual community, those cars don't receive as much respect as a base Corvette or just a Corvette will in general. That's the Porsche 911 to the rest of the sports car community. A Porsche 911 owner typically isn't chasing performance. They're chasing the status of the sports car that they own. The 911 overall is a better business purchase versus any other car that performs better, like a Z01, a Corvette C8, Z06, C7, Z06, and so forth. The Z06s will always outperform the 911, but they depreciate at a rate that the 911 doesn't. I mean, think about this. You can still find 911 Carreras and Carrera S's, which barely have 400 horsepower or somewhere in the range of 400 plus horsepower, that are still selling for $100,000 today. I mean, think about it. Look at 2017, 2018 911 Carreras and Carrera S's that are still selling for over $100,000 today. You'll be hell-bent to find any form of a C7 Z06 that is still selling for over $100K today. And that's a much higher performing car. So, like I stated, 911 owners aren't really looking at it about performance. They're looking at the better business investment, the better purchase investment, the better long-term investment. And this is why the thoughts and the conversations that you see in Corvette forums about people saying, I had a 911 or this, and this, and they talk about performance, stop. Because you aren't a real 911 owner. I actually attend Porsche events in several different locations throughout the country because I am a true car enthusiast, and sometimes I just go to events for content, which I don't always release. But the conversations that you have there, the Porsche community is very interesting, but they're actually quite fun to be around. More Porsche events consist of people talking about why they spec'd out the car the way they did, and a lot of times ends up in conversations with networking on the business side. Meaning, what do you do in life and this, that, and so forth, and how we can link together and make money together. You don't get that in the Corvette community. So like I said, the Porsche has a community similar to the Corvette community, but not as tightly close-knit as the Corvette community when it comes to the cars. Because to Porsche owners, it's more than just the car that's in their community and why they're getting together to conversate and network. So think about that for a second. But moving back to, is the 911 a true supercar? I don't really know. Well, honestly, I can sit there and say this to you. Performance-wise, no. I think it's more of, I can't even say exotic. It's just more of a foreign, but it's very well respected because Porsche does make some nice performing cars, some nice reliable performing cars, and they put out, just like the Corvette Z06 or ZR1, the Porsche Turbo S has always been amazing, fine machine for performance that is well respected in any car community. And when they put out the GT2 RS, which was a complete track monster, those cars, the GT3s, the GT3 RSs, to me, those are the cars that are true supercars. But when you go to supercar events, what you realize is most Porsche 911s will get supercar status and treatment and allow into supercar parking areas where a C7 Z06, a Camaro ZL1, a Mustang 350, a Mustang 500, these cars won't. And performance-wise, they rival supercars, meaning like Ferraris and things of that nature, but they aren't seen or given the same respect. And somehow a base Porsche 911 is. So I always ask myself, why is it that as Corvette owners or the Corvette community, you argue for status and acceptance with the Corvette? In actuality, I think you hurt your own argument to be accepted with a Corvette. Because if you can sit here and say that, oh, the Stingray isn't a true supercar, but the Z06 is, you never really hear Porsche owners say the 911 isn't a supercar, but the Turbo S is, or the GT3 or GT3 RS is, or the GT2 RS is, but the GTS, the Carrera 4S, the Carrera S, the Carrera 4, these aren't supercars. No. They say it's a 911, and they demand the respect that a 911 should get. And then hence, you attend 70-80% of the supercar functions anywhere located in the country, and you will see 911s welcome with open arms. So this is what always makes me question, what is the true definition or the true acceptance of a supercar? And often, why do certain cars get left out the mix while others don't? And you can't say it's based off production numbers and accessibility, because the Porsche 911 is very easy to get your hands on, and it is a massively produced car. Let me know your thoughts on it. ICNV Driver's Edition. Go ahead, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, join the ICNV Driver's Edition community. Like I said before, we're a community of car enthusiasts that like to drive cars to make you turn your head, that aren't your normal everyday people movers. We also are an interactive community, which means if you hit me up on any one of my social media platforms or in the comments below, I would do my best to respond. And if the topic you bring up, just like this one, is interesting enough, I may shoot a video on it. Remember, we were all designed in His image and given dominion over the world, so we weren't just meant to be. So chase your dreams, build your visions, never give up, and embrace your own identity. It is okay to be unique. He's not done with you, and He's definitely not done with me. So stay safe, stay blessed, and I will see you in these streets. Peace.